Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. Welcome to another episode of Watercolor Instructions with me. So I'm going to do a cityscape. This building is Calais Villa, Madrid. Calais Villa? I'm not. It's a metropolis. I think it's a council building in Madrid. Maybe one of you guys can correct me. It's a popular building, and then also it looks very pretty, especially in this particular angle. So usually I start with the materials. Let me start with the materials. The materials I'm using is a Saunders 300 grams watercolor paper. So the palette is a John Pike palette. So I got my yellows, browns, reds, greens, and my blues. Individual names. I'm going to put a slide where it shows all the colors I'm using, and also I'm going to put in a slide of all the brushes I'm using. So if you are new to my channel, consider subscribing, help me out, hit the like button and the notification so that you don't miss a video. I usually start with a value sketch. Value sketch is important not only because it gives me an idea of where the values are. Values is light and dark, but also while I'm trying to compose in my head what needs to go where and other things. So I just generally do with a small A5 sheet. So the pencil I'm using is a 6B mechanical pencil. So this one, obviously, I'm trying to do it as a portrait mode. So I'm not going to add too many details, but what I generally do is I'm going to try to keep that fairly in the center, but I'm going to try to keep the building slightly off-centered. So there's an angel, the wingspan, that's fairly important. There's a lot of details, but I'm going to just do a very little details. You don't need too many details to... What we are trying to get is a flavor or a feel for that particular building. So obviously, it's important to know the ring direction, the perspective. So I'm going to go somewhere over here. So, and the building goes from here, goes and goes all the way till there, but also there is a little more, there's a lot more going on in terms of buildings. Okay, something of that nature. Okay, so, and over here, probably it goes all the way to the bind, and I'm going to add that height, sorry, that height, a little more details. Again, I'm not adding too many details, but I'm just trying to compose it together. So it comes over here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Composition. So we're talking about roughly here, and a little bit of shadow. And about that height is where my people are going to be. So I'm going to just add one person. I'm going to make that front portion people. Let's add one more person over here. Okay. And maybe I'll add a car. And another car. couple more people on there. Okay, so that should do in terms of the details. So for darkness sake, I'm just gonna come in. I use a Conte Paris. So that side is darker, and then also there is a building which comes in. I'm not really sure if I want to add the tree over here. Let's see if how I feel about it. And then also the whole place has a shadow, that silver, and that one is a shadow as well. Okay, and a little more. Okay, so if I just use obviously what I'm saying is the whole thing, that one is a little light. That's the second value. That's the third value. A little darker. Then also a little darker. Okay. And shadow, making sure the car shadows are captured and people most of the people in the shadow. Something like that. Also, there are few key features, like there's a Spanish flag, there's a flag post in the front, and there's few of the images has a flag post, so I'm going to add a little more a flag post, not a red pole, but and some street lights. Maybe some cables. Not mention. A little more. A tree maybe. I'm not really sure, but we'll see how it goes. A tree. Couple of shops. Okay, so that is a rough value sketch which I'm trying to attempt. As I said, we'll see how it goes, but also there's a couple of cable lines which is not there, but I think it'll add a little more life to it. Oh, there's a traffic light which probably I'm going to add. And there's also a couple of features which make it street. I'm just going to add a couple of perspective lines just to give a little more perspective. So that is what we're trying to achieve. Also, I need to constantly check my phone because it keeps switching off, and I've lost a couple of videos. I've done a whole painting and I've lost the videos. Okay, so same thing, what we have seen in the value, I'm going to try to do it. So that's the center. I'm going to slightly offset and then make that as a focal point. So a flag, a couple of people, one car, and that beautiful of a building. So let's start slightly higher because we could use a little more space. So first thing you do is you're just adding a shape. Okay. So I feel the wings should, it looks more like a chicken, but that's all right. Okay. So the first dome, second dome, I'm going to just do a center so that I know. And the third dome. And it's got some carving features. Metropolis. And the first window. So that's where it starts. You got your second window, another window, and that's a balcony. Alright, so the first balcony, second balcony, or the second window, and the third window. Alright, okay. So that's roughly what we're looking at. Metropolis, and then first window, and then we're looking at second block, third block obviously is slightly smaller, fourth block is slightly smaller. There's a sculpture, which I'm not going to do. A little more feature, twin pillar. And same thing, pillar. Okay, that's enough details. And here, and there is how the statue sitting, goes all the way. I'm just adding a few more details to the building. And there's a couple more in the backdrop. Okay. Something out of nature. Some details. Okay, and it curves and it bends. So I'm not going to add too many details, but enough details to carry on. And there's another building, probably here. The window, a couple of balconies. There's one balcony. And the sign. Darker, darker. And let's gets a little more darker. Okay. So that's where I draw my line. That's where the eye line is. So I'm gonna do so there's the first guy, slightly big. There's a second. I'm gonna do third. Well, there's another cow. Let's do another cow for that height. Okay, so there's about 3 people coming over here. Then maybe this spot is a little empty. I'm gonna add a couple more people, and maybe why not? There's a tree coming in. Okay, so in terms of features, I'm gonna put in there's a traffic light, and there's a flagpole, somewhere here. Okay, I'll put in a Spanish flag, and I'll put another light pole, so about that height. Light pole, another light pole. That's okay. That should do it. Maybe shadow. They're making sure the shadow. Okay, and in terms of the building itself, so I'm looking at a little bit of dark pillar. Okay, all right. So that's enough drawing. Let's see how we get along. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, a mop brush, a little bit of ultramarine, and I'm also picking up a little bit of gray from the palette. I'm just not cleaning it. I'm going to just check a little more, maybe cobalt blue. Okay, so before I start, spray a little bit of water, wet the paper a little bit. Maybe it's a little dark, but okay. Okay. So yellow ochre. Just adding a little more value. So I'm not too worried about. I'm going to leave the cars white. The people, that one is in the shadow. Maybe I should keep those people white. I'm going to just try to keep them a little white and then see how it works. So I'm just coming in around the people, a little bit white. I said that, but still, yeah. And then the rest, I'm going to just add a little more burnt umber. Maybe a little bit of blue. Okay, so the first layer, maybe I'll add a little bit of green here. What the heck? Okay. So at this stage, I'm going to just quickly dry the painting. So bear with me. Okay, so let's start with the top of the building. So I'm gonna wet a little bit. I have a little tissue in my hand, and I'm going to pick up a lot of black pigment, and I'm going to go wing it. So okay, that's about so it's got okay, so there's a little bit of yellow. I think I'm gonna keep that and add negative spaces just so that I can come back with a little bit of yellow. Okay, I will let it dry, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a so there are a lot of detail features. Yellow ochre, a little bit of, we're gonna test it, that's okay, and I'm gonna come in so So this one's going to be a little less. So I need to just wing it. Metropolis, I'm going to come in a little more. So trying to add those corners. So come in with a little more detail. Detail. There's more branches. And we continue with a slightly bigger brush now. So we're looking at okay, a little more darker building. Okay, and then I continue rendering. Adding a little more tonal value to the cars, a little bit of cooler colors. And when I come over here, I'm going to just do that. And continuing. Trying to not cover the people at this stage. There are about 3 or 4 people. And somewhere adding a little more color to the shadow. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we tackle this side. And a little turquoise on the top. Continue. With the painting. Okay, so a little more. Probably need a little more juice here. Okay, so same thing. You want to add okay, so let's start building. I'll add a little more details when we come, but that's where and I'm happy about a little. Let's make that a slightly bluer color. And not to forget tie. Okay, so that one is okay. So let's start building up the personality of the characters. So maybe I'll add a few yellow faces, some red or orange, some skin tone. So I'm gonna have a little red on this side. And yellow. So a little lavender. One is wearing a brownish jacket. One is wearing light white, different colors. So one more, two more people. Okay, not to forget the shadow. Okay, a little more here. I give him a little jacket. A little more hand there. And maybe I'll give him a little suitcase. Okay. Okay, so that one is fine. So I'm going to make that as the back of the car. I'll just add a little more water so that it runs a little bit. Okay. Okay, now coming to these two gentlemen on the center. So okay. Okay. And the guy who's wearing a little white shirt. And a brown shirt. I just keep checking. Okay, so a little more shadow. Okay, I'm going to come in and add a little more details. But this one, I'll have him. Okay. So this one looks like a ghost. Add a little more structure. Okay, so that's the front guy, and then with this one, I'm going to just make this a little dark first of all. So I'm just grabbing all the grays, beautiful. Okay, so the gray, I just feel the shadows a little darker, but I'm gonna let it settle. Okay, now add a little more details to the building itself. So I'm just adding a few details. Not to mention a little bit of yellow. Just picking up from the pigment, I'm just adding it. Okay. Also, I'm going to just add a little more darker shadow on the other side and keep adding a little more details. So this one is too dark. Okay. A little bit of details here and there. It's a building. And not to mention the doors inside are a lot more darker. Okay, so let's do something about that tree. Looks too. So I'm going to quinchy my brush, add a little more. Oop, that's a bit too much. That's better. Okay, and add a little more brown branches. Okay, so now let's focus on the guy in the front. So obviously he is in the shadow. I'm going to just make him a little, is a black. Okay, that's all I want to do. And also I need to keep checking for the paintings. Okay, so I'm going to add a couple more lines. Okay, now adding the details, the flagpole and other things. So a reservoir brush, a little black, plenty of black. Let's see. So that's the first brush. And what did I say? I'm going to add another brush. Oh, there's a couple of people I've missed. I'm going to add them in a second. And also okay, couple of birds. Some details. Balcony. Okay. Okay. So before I forget, I just want to add a detail to this couple of figures in the backdrop. So okay. I think that's about what I want to do with that. So I'm just not too happy about the shadow went a bit too dark. Okay, that's about okay. Okay, I think I should just quit before it gets any worse. I'm gonna just pick up a little more white pigment, add a little bit of highlights. Oh, I forgot I gotta do a Spanish flag. So a lot of red pigment. And plenty of yellow pigment. Oh, that's not enough. Okay. Not to forget, little post. Okay, so just need to add a few highlights to the white. Maybe this black could be a little more black. Okay. Okay, so pigment, I'm adding some highlights to the people. Okay, that's about right, and I think I should call before I screw up a bit more. All right. Thank you again for watching. Consider subscribing, and till next time, happy watercoloring. Thanks. Bye.